Hello and welcome. Episode 31 of the Bell Falls Search Focus on Talent podcast. I'm your host, Ron Laneef. Each week, we share career stories of tech experts and marketing mavens, operational gurus, and sales leaders, to illustrate how they have navigated the nonlinear career path. I had the privilege of originally meeting today's guest almost 20 years ago when we recruited him to join our rapidly growing consulting firm. His career has been primarily focused on the B2B e-commerce space. And as you will learn, he's a true expert in his field. He's a writer, sought after knowledge leader and speaker, and an accomplished entrepreneur many times over. Although he's mostly followed a linear career path in e-commerce, his role progression has definitely been nonlinear. I'm very excited to introduce my old friend, Justin King, managing partner at B2X Partners. Justin, thanks a lot for being here.
Oh, it's great to be here, Ron. Nice to be here with you too.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. I've done probably 3 dozen of these conversations with executives like yourself, from marketing to technology and coaching. You're actually the first accomplished e-commerce person I've spoken with. But what I've found and what's fascinated me is what I call the nonlinear career path that a lot of
Mm.
people follow. More about the how and the why around how individuals decided to make the changes they made over time, how they decided to become entrepreneurs. Why? Was it serendipity? Was it pure luck? Was it intentional? So, can you give us an overview of your background, how you got to where you are today, and walk us through how those things evolved?
Yeah, I love this topic of nonlinear, first of all. When I came out of school, my job that I have today didn't exist. And there's something to communicate to the audience. It's that there's just thousands of jobs that are out there that we don't even realize are jobs, right? My job didn't exist. I was double major business and computer science, came out, joined a small consulting firm. That part of my career is pretty linear where I stayed in consulting, but work breaks off for me. I can distinctly remember it is 2006. I was at a conference and the speakers that were up speaking, the really good ones, they just intrigued me. It was something that I felt deeply. That's what I want to do. Yet I had no idea how I get there. It's not a career. Speaking is not a career path that's taught. Communications is, but speaking rarely is. So I started reverse engineering a bunch of the speakers that were out there. What I saw from them was they had expertise and they had blogs and they wrote about their expertise. I looked at my life and I realized I'm not an expert at anything. I'm not a very good writer, but it didn't stop me. I decided to really examine my skill sets and what I was passionate about and good at what I was doing, see if there was anything there that I could maybe become an expert at. So at the time, we were working together. I was part of the leadership team of the B2B group that wasn't doing e-commerce. We were just doing websites. And I looked at that intersection, that passion of e-commerce and B2B, and said, okay, eventually one day I believe that e-commerce is going to come to the B2B world. When I say B2B, I really mean manufacturers, distribution, electrical, industrial, chemicals, that part of B2B, the nitty gritty of B2B. Someday it's going to come there. And I decided I'm going to start building a point of view on that topic when it's not cool. So I started a blog called ecommerceandb2b.com, a pretty clever URL. Great for SEO, but bad for anything else. From 5:30 a.m. to 7 a.m., I wrote every single morning. I wrote on that blog and nobody came to that blog. My mom, my dad came to my blog, my brothers. If you're like looking at real time analytics and 4 people on your website, it's like Akron, Ohio, Akron, Ohio. You're like, damn it, mom, get off my site. So nobody came to my site. It's a little bit of an exaggeration. It just wasn't a cool topic. It wasn't a relevant topic at the time. I gave up 4,000 times during that period of time. For 5 years, I wrote on this blog, giving up multiple times on the way, always coming back to it the next day. Then in 2011, 2012, Granger, which is a major distributor in the US, launched their website and they called it B2B e-commerce. People went to Google and typed in B2B e-commerce into Google. And my tiny little website dominated the first 5 pages of Google, not the first 5 listings, first 5 pages of Google. So what was cool about it, I didn't realize it, but what was cool about it is I actually had thought through, had a point of view that was actually pretty relevant. It was actually pretty good. I'd spent a lot of time researching. I spent a lot of time talking to customers, distributors, and manufacturers. And it turns out that what I had written was actually pretty good. At the time, I was working for a software startup called Endeca, and we were sold to Oracle. I had started speaking, and Oracle made me chief evangelist for all of e-commerce. I had a point of view now to talk about. They sent me all around the world from 2012 to 2015, speaking probably hundreds of different places over that 3 years. It really, really started my speaking career and gave validation. It's funny though, because I remember I did an interview like in 2015 and someone said, man, it feels like you just popped out of nowhere. I'm like, I've been writing on this blog for 8 years and nobody cared about it. But yeah, it took me 8 years to pop out of nowhere. So that started a speaking career, and speaking is really how I built my own personal brand. I do a lot of speaking, a lot of writing. I eventually turned my writing and my speaking into a book in 2018. That book became the playbook for lots of distributors and manufacturers. As I kind of honed in on what my core message was, my core message has been, how do you work with executives and digital teams to help them work better together? That's just a unique approach. So all my writing, all my talking, my speaking, my videos, all are centered around that approach about change and change management and organizational change. It's really kickstarted. It's funny to think about in 2007, thinking back to, okay, how do I do this? What do I do? And then watch it unfold over a decade, which it really did. But
Well,
that's, we got my start.
and the thing to me, especially in the age we live in now, that I think it's easy to take for granted is you didn't have ChatGPT to punch in a few
Right.
and help you generate ideas and help you generate content. This was brute force, like real mind, real hands on keys, pumping out content.
Really what it means is it's generating a bunch of crap, right? Just bad stuff, writing a bunch of bad stuff and then honing and editing into, oh, okay, this is the real idea behind it. That's what most of writing is. 80% writing stuff that isn't relevant and then realizing, okay, this is a real part of this that should be talked about. Uh,
It's probably a good lesson learned for any aspiring writers or content developers is, and I've read that a lot, is just don't overthink too much what other
that's
people
right.
think of it or the reaction or the interest you get from it. Just keep
Just
writing.
right.
Yep.
Just right. And by the way, it doesn't have to be for public. Writing has done amazing things in my career, even just in my day jobs. It's done amazing things there where, because I'm researching and thinking through, I'm in a conversation with a customer and I'm able to then communicate a concept that I've thought through that maybe nobody's seen before, but I thought through it. I wrote it, I edited it, and now I'm able to communicate this amazing concept. And I just think writing is an incredible tool for anybody to be able to use.
I'm jealous of you that you get paid to speak in front of people and you get and people reach out to you and ask you to speak in front of them and pay you for that. That's great. I'm curious, when you worked at Oracle and you traveled all around the world, did you get paid for those engagements or was that all just part of your income at Oracle?
Like a lot of the things that I've done, Ron, I've learned along the way. I remember I was speaking about halfway through my Oracle career at that point. I was speaking at an association that they asked me to come, but I was representing Oracle, not on my own. And I was not getting paid for any of it outside of being paid for Oracle. And after speaking, the person that was producing this event came up to me and said, why didn't you charge us for that? And I said, what are you talking about? Charge? What does that mean? She said, I would have paid X amount of thousands of dollars for that talk. I'm like, wait, back up. I get paid for this? I'm just doing it fun. And that day I went home and wrote my first contract and said, next time I go, I'm going to get paid. It's a good piece of advice. I've been so curious about things, asking people questions, asking, what do you mean? And not acting like I know it. Tell me more about that. And how would someone go about something like that? I've been so curious. That curiosity has led me to uncover so many things in my career that I just never would have found out on my own. And I think curiosity is such a key thing for anybody, especially as they're looking for a new career.
I agree. That's also a common theme in most of these conversations. I think what goes hand in hand with curiosity is also having humility because you actually said in there, "Hey, I didn't act like I knew everything."
Yeah.
That's really to me the basis of curiosity or what allows you to be more curious.
I actually don't think people like people that know everything, whether it's in humor, self deprecation, or just admitting you don't know something. It humanizes you so much and it makes you more relevant to them.
I'm going to digress a little bit. Can
Yeah.
you tell me what was your book called? And can you also tell me what that process was like? You know, how did you decide to do it? I'm sure there was a big part of building your personal brand. And tell me how hard that was. How long did it take?
I cheated. The book came about when someone told me that they got paid more money for having a book. And I decided, oh, again, one of those moments where you realize that you're able to do something you're not. So I came back and decided to write a book. By that point, I had thousands of words that I had written. I had YouTube videos and transcripts. And so I had a pretty good construct behind what I might write in this process. And I was consulting and doing a lot of advisory work. So I felt like I had a good outline. I had a director of marketing at that time, a VP of marketing working inside the company that I created. So I left Oracle and started my own company in 2015. Had my own company. Eventually, I had my VP of marketing who knew how to write and I knew how to talk. She knew how to write. And so I talked my book to her over the course of a couple months. And we literally wrote the chapters that way. And I was able to voice it to her. And obviously I had thousands of words that I had actually written as well. And we were going to take the words and the things that I'd written and things I spoken, constructed this outline, and basically wrote the book. It only took about 9 months to write it because of all the words that had been written by that point. So it didn't take that long. And then it took a couple months to produce. We did it on our own. We didn't use a publisher or anything to do it. We put it on Amazon, created our own website for the book. And it's been the number one marketing tool that I've had in my career. I don't see it as a money maker. I
Mhm.
see it as a great marketing personal brand tool that kind of coincides with everything else that I've done. And I'm definitely working on another. I'm trying to rewrite that book right now. I'm working on another book because of how valuable that is. Just the process of going through that process of writing and constructing it and formulating your thoughts and putting it into simple language that someone else can understand on the written page versus spoken is worth the effort, even if no one ever bought it.
Oh, I'm sure it tees up your speaking engagements too.
It's called Digital Branch Secrets.
Okay.
A branch in the B2B world is their store. They call their branches store. There's stores branches. It's their digital store kind of secrets. It's about 120 pages, easy read, written about third grade grammar, which is about perfect.
So before we move on, I want to talk specifically about what you're doing today. I know you're doing a lot of speaking and consulting, B2X partners, as well as the B2B e-commerce association. Can you tell me a little bit about both those groups?
Yeah, the company I started in 2015, I sold in 2019 to a software company and helped them from 2019 to last year. I helped them build a B2B practice inside of their company. Last year, I just had the opportunity to buy it back out from that company and really leave with just a great partnership and relationship intact with that organization that I do love. I've I've just decided to build an advisory this time, solopreneur act, content, videos, training and speaking, and then meeting with some customers here and there along the way. But for the last probably 7 or 8 years, I've had this vision of creating a community of professionals and the people that actually do this work on a daily basis, practitioners, building a community for them that had great content that allowed them to network, had events that we were able to put great training and even professional certification in front of. So I've helped build what's called the B2B eCommerce Association. I have a partner in Australia who we're launching a global effort to build this association. And that's what it is. It's a place for practitioners to hang out, connect, network, get great information and training, and really accelerate their own careers. That's what it's really about. Everybody else is so focused on the companies they work for. This is unique, and we care about the company you work for, but we want to assist you in your future and in your job. So we see there's lots of other branches of it potentially in the future. Right now, specifically focused on the practitioners in that world. No vendors, no sponsors, just the practitioners. It's a pretty special place.
Gotcha. The college student or the soon to be entering the workforce individual, what advice do you have for them? It could range from what to focus on degree wise, how to build their technical skill set, soft skills, how to differentiate themselves between their peers when it comes to applying and interviewing for jobs. From your history and all the people you talk to, what are your thoughts there? Any advice?
First of all, just know that there are thousands of jobs out there that you don't know what they are. My job literally didn't exist when I came out of school. And there are jobs that you could pursue. It just takes the curiosity to get to know what those jobs look like. So don't pigeonhole yourself into a specific field that's built by your university or college. There's just so many different opportunities out there. The network part of this even inside of your school or college, the network is just so critical. Ron, you and I are connecting after 20 years. We've actually stayed in touch here and there over the
Yep.
last 20 years.
Yep.
The network you build, and that network is built through curiosity and being interested in people and building some level of personal relationship with people. That I think that network is so critical. On the non-traditional side, man, I would always I'd have a side gig. I think it was Steve Costco that said this to me. And Steve's the guy that worked with Ron and I in the past. Steve told me, he said, never put your career in somebody else's hands. So having something that you're passionate about and learning from, it doesn't have to be something that makes money. When I say gig, it doesn't have to make money, but always have something that you're brewing on the side that you can connect with and build, really spend your time learning about that. During blockchain, I built a blockchain app. During this era of AI, I built an AI app. Not that they're very good. I just did it to learn and figure it out. And by the way, that translates into my career on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
I still think tech fields are the hottest areas. I think any area of technology that someone can get into, there's so many aspects and there are so many non-technical aspects of working for a technical company. Marketing, communications, being able to sell, obviously finance. There's so many areas inside of tech, even though it's been a soft, I think any area of tech that someone can get into better. If you're the type of person that will actually be curious and learn about other people's jobs and what they do and how they do it, I think it'll open up a world that you never even knew existed.
Yep. No, it's very helpful. It always comes back down to building that personal brand and
Yeah.
working on developing side skills, to your point, whether you get paid for that or whether it's a true gig or it's just building experience that's useful. How about on the experience side? As I talk to lots of individuals in the market, even though the job market appears to be really hot and unemployment's really low, it's still not easy in this softer space that you mentioned, whether it's tech or marketing, et cetera. There's still a supply and demand imbalance, and it's becoming harder for individuals to differentiate themselves in the application and interviewing process. Do you have any advice for things that you've seen along the way that help make people stand out from one another?
I had a college student ask me that question. So I think this applies to both sides. I asked the question to them of how are you applying to these jobs? And they're basically following the path, the application process or send a resume process. We have these amazing tools in front of us of social media and LinkedIn and Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can create your own website. I remember when I applied to a job early on, I created a website The website was titled my name plus the name of their company. I wrote a one-page website about how to work there. I got attention. I'm not suggesting you do that necessarily, but this often is about being able to, you said, how does someone stand out amongst your peers? My question really is, how do you not stand out amongst your peers? If everybody's doing the same thing, applying the same way, why not take a different approach and try to stand out? Even if it's goofy and even a little, hey, you get attention from
Yep.
that, right? There's plenty of people that are doing that on TikTok right now. I'm not suggesting that you do that, but I am suggesting you get creative about your approach. I think when it comes to networking, people want to help. They just don't want to be asked for a job. So as you network, ask people for help. I want to get to know your industry. How did you get the job you got? What was your career path? How did you get there? What skills did you need to learn along the way? How did you learn that? I don't see any courses about that. So they'll give you lots of information. Don't have an ulterior motive to it. Take them out for lunch and coffee and get to know them and their industry and how they got their careers. You'd be surprised how many people at the end of that conversation say, hey, like, how can I help you? What's the
Yeah.
practical way? But so much of the time, the desperation seeps and oozes out of us when we're approaching someone, and just change your mindset. Networking is just so critical.
Yeah. I guess the last bonus question is, how are you using AI these days? And what's your outlook on continuing to leverage it in the things you're doing?
Say that in a different way. How am I not using AI? I'm using AI in almost every aspect of my career, certainly personal life as well. I don't have an email that I write that I don't use AI. By the way, when I say AI, I don't mean like just generic AI. I've fed AI my stuff, my voice, the words I say, so it knows how I write. I don't craft emails right now without having it AI crafted. I don't write a blog post without having AI rewrite the blog post. All my images on my presentation are built by AI. Even as I think about constructing talks, I was trying to come up with a story the other day. So I asked AI to find me some kind of crazy related stories to this topic. It took me a few minutes, but I found something really interesting that I was able to incorporate into a talk. So I'm using it everywhere. In the last podcast I did, I used AI to edit my podcasts. I removed words and inserted other words that I wanted to say. I'm using it in every aspect. I think it's a critical skill to learn. I think there's specific things you can learn. What's more interesting is people that are interested in technology that know how to apply technology to their job more than they're experts at AI. But if you can take a field and say, I use AI in my field to do this, to be more efficient, to be more scalable for myself, I think you have a really good opportunity there.
Yep.
AI is going to create business models that we have never seen before. Those business models are going to create jobs and careers you've never seen before.
Yeah.
And that's coming in the next year. That's not coming 4 or 5 years down the road.
Any tools in your AI stack that you want to share?
Yeah. Tool I use every day is called Cast Magic. It takes voice notes from your phone, which I do a lot of. It transcribes them, builds summaries, then builds LinkedIn posts, blog posts off of the things that you've set into your phone. I've created full white papers from my walk to work in the morning. In that 20 minutes, I'm just speaking into my phone and looking like a crazy man. But I get to work, it's transcribed, and
Wow.
then I can create Instagram posts, linked posts, blogs, and then it'll actually spit out pages and pages. Especially as you do it more and more, then it starts relating it to other things that you've built in the past. And as you build this library, that the ability for it to synthesize it into something that's meaningful and relevant to what you're trying to do becomes critical. A lot of podcasters are using that. A lot of speakers, writers, content generators are using that. It's my number one tool that I use every day.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
Justin, really appreciate the insights. It was great to see you again. I hope we connect soon. And if I ever get a speaking engagement someday, I'm gonna send you a case of wine like you got before.
So fun. So fun. This is amazing to do with you, Ron. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Talk to you soon, bud.